That's my baby. That's my baby.
We're going at it at 110%.
I just want 5 minutes of happiness, please. Just give me 5 minutes.
And they scored. They did it.
Left, beat left.
What the hell was that? Oh, yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We are live here on A2DRadio.com for the first time in 2 weeks, as we took a couple of weeks off there. Obviously, the draft was last week, so that's the reason why we weren't here. Plus, also, a certain team isn't making the playoffs. So, but I am Matt Sassuti, along with the Darkwing Brian Daly.
Georgie, you let me down.
Is that signed?
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yep. Signatures, right?
Oh, there I see it.
Right
The
there.
Yeah, there it is. At least he signed it with the gold pen so it stands out. But
They're all signed with gold.
good. And we got the broken one, Rob Povia, right on down there.
You can't do that to our pledges. Well, we could do that to our pledges.
I was going to say, who the heck? I was about to say, I just had somebody quote this the other day. I forgot who it was, and then I realized that.
It was me, Austin. It was me all along.
Such good shit, pal. All right. So, we welcome you all to another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour live on A2DRadio.com. And we are brought to you by, as always, Body Check Wellness. You can get 20% off using the A2D code. Body Check Wellness is a line of products that promotes wellness and balance and recovery by using the full potential of hemp. They come in extracts, blends, gummies, topicals, and you can use the promo code, like we said before, A2D. You get 20% off of your order. And when Riley Cote, the man who created Body Check Wellness, is on with us, you can get 40% off of a THC-free product box, about $140 worth of savings right there. If you want to try out those products and you want to do the THC-free to get yourself started out and then ease yourself into the hemp products, all of them work perfectly. Rob knows for a fact. He's used a ton of them, and they've done nothing but positives for him.
It's really starting to set in now that I'm 3 months in, taking 3 a day of the Focus and Clarity from mushroom extract. Man, my focus has been laser sharp. I've needed it today. Got the second dose of the vaccine, so it's helping me keep life together today. But it's been a good day. It's good to be responsible for society.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, man? It's got to feel good too personally. Feel like, oh, good. Whew! Dodge that bullet.
Hey, I don't care about me, man. It could take me out like that. I don't give a fuck, right? It's about who I would give it to. You know what I mean? That's what I feel responsible for. But anyway, about the product, it's great. As we all know, working in this business, a million things can come your way, and I'm just able to, prioritize focus at the task at hand so much clearer. It's helped me work with my diet as well as exercise as well, because that's important, as Riley has said, to have the whole picture together. And it's a nice regimen. Whenever you're taking supplements, it's sort of like you need to have a healthy meal with them, you know what I mean, so it sits well in the stomach. It's really created a nice balance in my life. That's the perfect word for it.
Something better than perfect balance, baby.
Mm-hmm.
We are also brought to you by the Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. Listen, man, he's got locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. He does all the good work for you, man. If you got any aches and pains, Brian knows all about that. He went to them, and he didn't have any aches and pains after he visited Paul.
Nah, they were great over there. If you're going to go to Cherry Hill, ask for Kerry or Dr. Paul himself. If you go to Burlington, ask for Allie, where I believe Dr. Paul goes up to Burlington as well. They all did a great job. Got my shoulder back to health. I don't have to report to them anymore. Thank God. Got my regiment. We're good. They treated me like family up there. They were great. So check them out.
See, people, we don't just advertise for them. We utilize. You know what I mean? We're their biggest customers.
Absolutely.
Just reading off a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Anybody could do that in this business. Come on.
They gave you paper for that? What? Why? Why am I always want to get shafted?
Did they give you the pen at least?
They gave me nothing.
They didn't even give you a pen.
I got nothing.
They
I got
could have
this. I got this. That was it.
I'm saying, the boys on the dial, they're reading off a piece of paper. You know what I mean? This is factual. This is life.
Oh, for
This is
sure.
real life for us.
Oh, hell yeah.
Absolutely, guys. And so, a couple of major things that happened, of course, over around the league. And also, as well, we were talking about the fact that we're going to be doing the best and worst tonight for the Flyers season. And we have our poll question. The Flyers will make the playoffs next year. Agree or disagree? That is the question that we have for everybody here. And that is brought to you by Sunrise Detox Counseling Center. Anybody who's struggling with any addiction issues or has any kind of mental problems going on, 856-651-8117. Tell them that Tom sent you. Listen, guys, don't wait until addictions or mental problems spiral out of control. Get the help you need as soon as you possibly can, or get a loved one the help that they need as soon as possible. So, guys, with that, let's take a look. Let's answer this question here. What do you guys think? Flyers make the playoffs next year and continue the pattern, or do we break the pattern in the wrong way and we miss consecutive years in the playoffs? Now, fun fact, when was the last time the Flyers missed consecutive years the playoffs?
It's been a while. It's been a long time since they've missed consecutive years. It's a tough question to answer right now. Like Monique Desjardins said, they need to make some drastic changes. It's not – at this point, it's not a coaching issue anymore. It's the same roster, same core, same results as the last, 10 years? You got to shake the core up now.
Oh, I know. Freaking when I had season fucking tickets was when? 2006 to 2008, right?
No.
I had to have been the last time.
No, they made it in 2008.
They did? Oh, okay. Oh, but I mean, maybe previous to that then. So maybe like 2005 to 2007. The Forsberg ankle years is what I'm talking about.
You're not wrong. They missed the playoffs in 2006 and 07, but they actually made the 05-06 campaign.
Oh, so the period of back and forth goes longer than even this recent run then. Damn.
Yeah, actually, the last time they had missed consecutive years in the playoffs, it was in the 90s. It was the early 90s when the team really sucked back then.
Wow.
That was the last time.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question to answer right now. Obviously, like I was saying, especially to Monique's comment, I agree with her. There has to be a shakeup here. Obviously, I don't think Giroux is going to be the guy to go. Just mainly because he wants to be here and he has a full no movement clause. What's up, Prez? Don, I see you too. It's just it's tough to see where they go, and we don't know what they're going to do as far as the roster. Cam York has the call up and will be playing in his NHL debut tomorrow night. So I like the idea of them seeing what they have as far as the young guns go. Obviously, we see good things. Well, I think we're seeing good things out of Wade Allison. But it's a tough question to answer. Right now, I'm going to go with agree because I think next year, I think they are going to be a better team. And I think you see Seattle take a guy like a Jake Voracek or a JVR. As much as I would actually like to keep JVR, one of those guys is not only going to go, but I think one of them has to go. And if from rumors that I'm hearing, and if they're even remotely true, you might have to get rid of Sean Couturier. Because apparently Coots is causing issues in the locker room. At least that's a report. I don't necessarily know if I believe it, or at least to what extent that they said that he was being a problem. But if that's the case, you might have to move on from Couturier as well. And get some fresh, younger guys in there. And like I said, different coaching staff, same issues. So it's not a coaching issue anymore. It's a player issue. So you have to not tear it down, but have to make some room, move some pieces, get rid of some of the get rid of some of these guys, and really shake things up.
Yeah, you need to be careful towards the end of a lost season with mudslinging reports and stuff like that. You know that's going to go on a little bit. That being said, I've heard the same thing. So, when two different people are hearing the same reports, there could be some validity to that. Overall, if this team wants to return back to the Stanley Cup playoffs, Maddie, I'll be succinct for you. There needs to be changes, maybe even borderline wholesale changes with both the expansion draft and offseason free agency. Not as much on the defense. Yes, a lot of the younger players did not make that next progression. They regressed. I'm talking about you, Phil Myers, right? I expect him to bounce back from this. You even saw it a little bit towards the end of the season here, right? Him and Sam Hine, for that matter, finally playing better over these past 2 games. This team playing with a little bit of heart. It's probably the Penguins rivalry thing, but that being said, it's finally sinking into them that you don't have very many games left. You have 3, 2 against the Caps, and then 1 more makeup game against the Devils on Monday. So it's time to put up or shut up for next year. Konechny has been playing with the Hart, getting underneath the opposition's skin. You saw he got under Crosby's skin on Tuesday, playing like that. That being said, it's too little too late for some of these guys. And when it comes to the defense, back to my original point, you need to sacrifice some of these veterans. Hopefully you do lose a Voracek and his salary in the expansion draft or whatever, as you really need to bring in a defenseman so these guys can slot back down because they've been playing out of position all year.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And for those that are paying attention to the under 18 World Junior Tournament, Canada is currently up 4-2. Hang on, let me.
That's going down in Texas, right?
Going down in Texas, going down in Frisco. Priz, you there? Probably not. He's with us.
And Wills, what's up, brother? What else we got?
4-2 with 3 minutes left in the second.
Chucks, how's it going, man?
Chucks.
So, and we got OGB Plus. So our OGB Pius actually saying agree to the poll question. So he believes the Flyers will make the playoffs.
Well, you know what? I mean, here's the thing.
Okay.
I mean, I stated my opinion based on what I saw from this team character-wise. And some of that kind of references to your point with Couturier that there before. Now, that's not one guy I would have pointed the finger at per se, but I've definitely been disappointed by this team for their lack of heart, their lack. We'll talk about this in the best of the worst later, but that disturbs me a little bit when your compete level, when that fucking sack between your legs isn't present. When teams are shitting on you, you know what I mean? When you're not clearing the front of the porch out, when teams are just, abusing you in the blue paint, that's the things that need to be cleaned up, right? To the commenter's point, I could very well see them making the playoffs because this still is a talented, skilled team, and this was a very weird year. There was not a lot of time to rebound from a slump, from a skid, because the Flyers have 2 days off between last game and Friday, right? When's the last time you could say that about this season? I don't think since it started, except maybe when they were on their COVID holiday, so to speak, lack of better words. So in the game of hockey, I've said it before, I'll say it again. When things are going bad, you need to collect yourself and you need to flip that script when it comes to momentum, when it comes to confidence. And if you don't have those time to work on things and practice in between games, things can go south mighty, mighty quick.
And we saw that multiple times.
So, what's up, Pete? He says agree to the poll. Jason Fagan saying agree with the poll, boys, but we need a roster shakeup. And Don saying, so since all of our teams are out of the playoffs, who are we rooting for now? Well, I'll get back to that. I have to take a look at the teams again and really come to a consensus on that. Actually, no, I know which one I'm rooting for because I picked them to win the cup and I'm sticking to them, and that's Vegas. So ironic that I'm picking Vegas, considering the fact that I was the guy years ago saying it wasn't going to work in Vegas. But still,
Funny how that works out, huh?
Yeah, funny how it does, right? But hey, at least I'll admit it.
On putting a team out in Vegas, and look at them now. They've made
Yeah.
the playoffs every single time since they've been
But-
in existence.
To be fair,
What?
though, the model from Exotic Locations that we were based on didn't do so well. So, unfortunately, I went based on my history of it, and I should have realized, you know what? Sometimes people are fuck the trend every once in a while. But, oh well, it is what it is. But, you know what? I am sticking with them because I believe that team, there's really very few flaws on that team. There's only one team that really competes with them in their division, and that's Colorado. Although Minnesota could be a surprise and upset a team. That's definitely possible.
Minnesota's been
Yeah.
they've been good.
Yeah, but for now,
our boy Krill could use some rooting spirit. That's a good story to root for. I mean, as much as my favorite in the West is still the Avalanche, especially when they add young kids like they did the other day. And then also, I hyped Toronto pretty good when we let off in the preseason for this shortened season. And they've come through to my predictions, 34-13-6. That, from an analyst standpoint, I got to root for them, right? If they were to get all the way to the Cup Finals or potentially hoist it for the first time in forever, that shit, man, we have to go back and find that film.
I mean, a lot of people are saying that Toronto could be the team. Maybe some good moves, but what was I going to look up? I don't remember. Oh, I remember.
So let's see here. Prism he's going with Florida,
I'm going with Carolina.
Carolina would be an interesting story to see them win their second.
They've been. Listen, I usually don't throw this term around. They've been special this year. There's just something about this team, like you could say that maybe it's got a lot to do with Rob Brindamore's system, but over the last couple of years, this team has just been really good. They've gotten good goaltending from, let's be real, backup goaltenders. Peter Mrazek, not the greatest goaltending tandem that they have. Who is it? Him and Reimer.
Yeah, but it turns out
they have a solid defense in front, and they have so many people on the offensive side that can score goals and be creative at creating opportunities in front of the net to put the puck in. Like they've been so good in all aspects of the game, and they've been at the top of the league. I think they can. I'll have to look at the standings, but I think they can clinch the first seed if they win the next two games.
Gotcha.
I have to look at that.
So let's see. Jason's saying, I have to root for anyone else. It's the Blues for me. So he wants to see the Blues get a second one. The Blues are an interesting situation because they haven't exactly had a stellar year. Although, if you follow trends, Blues didn't have a stellar year when they won the Cup. So there you go. So that may have something to it. He may have just picked the winner right there. Let's see, Bill Middlebrook, 45 years, guys. I'll just say it again. Maybe next year. Yeah, man, I'm sorry, Bill. We were really hoping that this was going to be the first year the Flyers were going to show that they had some staying power in a playoff situation. Turns out, nope, they absolutely did not.
So Pittsburgh's got one more game, and right now Carolina's sitting on top of the standings with 80 with 2 games to go. So
Don saying, wake me up when the draft lottery comes around. Let's see. Jake Friel. What's up, Jake? Saying, what's up,
Detroit's
boys?
Not going to be in for the first seed.
Yeah, but
there's the number one pick. It's only going to be, depending on how things go, it's either going to be Anaheim and Buffalo, or it's going to be a tie between Anaheim, Buffalo, and crap. I just had it up.
But he's still going to be picking high, though. So, I mean, it's still worth keeping a look around, you know? It's always exciting to see a new player, you know? Which makes sense that it'd be Vancouver. But Jake's saying, what's up, boys? I disagree with the poll. I think they're going to shake up the roster this offseason, starting with firing of Alain Vigneault. I don't think they're going to fire Alain Vigneault. Fletcher's come out openly and has stated he's not planning on changing the coaching.
Coaching's not the issue anymore, Jake. It's the players.
What needs to happen, though, is that the Flyers need to find an actual owner. they're not going to change. Comcast is going to own them for the rest of their existence, or until Comcast has to sell assets, and I highly doubt they're going to be doing that at any time. So they're not.
That, though. I think we need like a legit or somebody like in the that can actually run the team.
I got news for you boys. I don't even think Chuck is safe, man. You know what I mean? Like, you talk about being content with the level of mediocrity that we saw in Minnesota, right? And having a team. Yes, I agree with you, Brian. Definitely, the players quit playing, but a coach allows players to quit on a team, and I don't know. You know how I feel about AB. I like the man. I don't like him as a coach, though.
Then let's see here. We got Prism saying everyone is now.
You're seeing the same thing every year from as a previous coach, Haxtell as a head coach.
Right, you're breaking up, brother.
Melting down.
But while we're
can't remember who in front of Haxel, but it's the same thing, same play. It's got to be. You got to shake the players. You got to shake up this roster.
You focus on the roster instead of getting continuity. You know, they keep on going from coach to coach. I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
So Prism saying everyone is now cheering for Florida and Carter Verhage to avoid getting put in the box. but no. So let's see here. Aunt DeMeo saying, let's see what his comment says here. What are 2 things you want Fletcher to do this off season? For me, number 1 is to get rid of Voracek. 2. Get a number 1 D-man to play with Provy, which definitely we know this for a fact that they do need to get someone who can work with Provy and, like you were saying, Rob, slot some of the younger guys back down to a position where they're getting better matchups, you know, because that was definitely hurting them, and they were that whole pair with Myers and Sanheim did not work at all, and that definitely didn't help the defense, and it didn't help the goaltending either. But, you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, when you look at the situation for the Flyers, I see 5 things that need to happen. 1, there needs to be stronger mental fortitude and mental toughness, because I feel like that was definitely lacking on this team. Confidence level was very, very low, and there was no real swagger with them. You could tell when they were getting shit on by teams that they didn't fight back. They didn't have any fire to them, no fighting, no nothing. And I'm not saying you have to fight. What I'm saying is you hit a little bit harder. You send a few more people out there that are going to send a message of, yeah, you're going to beat us this time, but you know what? We got 2 games in this matchup. We're taking the next one. You know, you got to have some kind of fire. You got to fire back. You can't just sit there and take it like a last place team. If you're a last place team, you're a last place team. That's one thing. Flyers were not a last place team, and they were not touted to be a last place team. So that's another thing. So there needs to be a lot more mental fortitude in here. There's got to be toughness. It doesn't have to be fighting. It just has to be a stronger ability to handle when the going gets tough. Because it got tough real bad for the Flyers, and the team cracked. The team cracked big time under the pressure. And I understand that some of the guys are young, and it's hard for them. But then some of the guys, they had no excuse. For example, Hayes had no excuse for how shitty he performed this year. Konechny had no excuse for how shitty he performed this year. And then on top of that, I think Provy, he got overwhelmed by the fact that he was now having to try and take all the responsibility of the defense by himself. And then the rest of the team was iffy on the defensive side of the puck. And then on top of that as well, what other players don't really have much of an excuse to go on? The only guys that I see that you can give a little bit of slack to is Oscar Lindblom, because it's his first year back from his cancer treatments. Secondly, on top of that, I'm not as big on the shitting on the Nolan Patrick train yet. I'm not ready to label him a bust. This was his first year back. If next year he comes out and he doesn't bounce back, then I'm ready to start jumping on that, because it's like, all right, number 2 overall pick. It's your 3rd year in the league. I know you had that rough go of it. I let it slide. I can't let it slide now. You know, it's like, all right, this is starting to really worry me. You know, but that's only because he's really a number 2. That's the major reason why I have that concern. That's probably why most people are labeling him a bust already. I'm not ready to jump on that yet. But a lot of people are ready to do that because he was a number 2 overall pick. But On top of that as well, there were several other guys who had no excuse to be the way that they were. And Voracek had no excuse if the rumors are true of him starting shit in the locker room. And Coots too. I mean, it's like, I don't care if you guys are playing well. It's like, no reason for you to be causing shit in the locker room. You know, when a team is really down in the dumps, if you guys are being poison pills in that locker room, that's not helping anything. That's making it worse. You know, so, again, mental fortitude needs to be better. They need to play better on special teams because that was fucking god-awful. They really need to work on the special teams. So definitely expect that for training camp to be the number one fucking thing they work on. And then on top of that as well, need to play better in front of your goaltenders. That just goes along with defense in general because the defense was atrocious this year. And then finally, we need a bounce back from Carter Hart. He needs to recover, not just physically, but mentally from the rough year that he had, which I think he can. And, you know, also one final thing that we need to, Avey needs to be better with him calling people out. He needs to be better with that because I feel like he gets too specific on names and he tries very, very hard to, like, he says he doesn't want to go into specific names, but then he calls people out anyway because he says, "Oh well, you know, when you slayed a young guy like an Oscar Lindblom onto penalty kill, it's like I don't want to get into names." Like you did just get into names, you moron. You just stated somebody's name, you dumbass. Like what are you talking about? You want to get into names? And then on top of that, then he called out Carter Hart. I'm still not a fan of that. That's still very, very sore with me because it's like out of all the people that you're going to call out, you're going to call out the goalie who's had no defense in front of him. Yes, he shriveled up under the pressure. I'll give you that one. He had a lot thrown on him at 22 years old. And you're going to call him out for it? Like, it wasn't his fault. Look at the fucking defense. That defense couldn't stop anything. And yet you're blaming Carter Hart for everything that was the shortcomings? That's fucking bullshit on my part. I call bullshit on that. And most of the NHL called bullshit on that too. So that's one thing that definitely shouldn't happen. It's like these are things that all comes to it. Team needs to look like they're a little bit more, what's the word for it? Cohesive.
Yeah.
They didn't look cohesive at all this year. And that's the overall thing. All these things tie into looking like a cohesive unit that can handle getting their ass kicked one game and come back and fire back the next. Secondly, can also handle being tougher in the sense of, yeah, we know they're a good team, but we can beat them. They need to have that confidence in them, and they didn't have it this year. And they need consistency on their special teams, on their defense. There's a lot of that has to get better. Those are the things that they need to do and they need to work on. And, you know, that's the thing. I saw a team that was falling apart this year. They need to get the pieces back together, and those are some of the things they need to get back together. Big time. You know, because you can't have this. You can't have the coach calling people out in press conferences, and it's not really their fault because I didn't see him calling out Kevin Hayes or Konechny or anybody else who was performing like shit this year except fucking Hart. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit because the first person I would fucking call out immediately, well, two people I call out immediately is Konechny for how shitty he performed, and he has no excuse. And secondly, I would call out fucking Hayes because he's making a fucking how much money, no movement clause, and he puts up that kind of a performance. Fuck off, Hayes. Fuck off with that fucking high contract of yours.
You're not wrong, Maddie. You're not wrong. Real quick about Mr. Hart there. I'm going to fire out a couple save percentages in this player's first couple seasons, and then I'll tell you who it is. First year, 875. Second year, 891. Third year, finally broke into the 900s at 900 even. And then fourth year, 908. And then it started taking off from there. This goaltender's name was Patrick Waugh. He's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
He was all right.
He's all right.
I mean, he had some good years in Montreal, you know, and he surprisingly rebounded pretty well in Colorado, I heard. So.
Am I comparing Hart to Patrick Waugh? No, I am not. So don't start addressing those hate letters quite yet. You know what I mean? Always, if you followed our work over the years, both on this show and back to FDN, we're a large sample size organization. You know what I mean? You got to do it for a couple of years, and obviously we saw the drop off this year. So it created levels of concern. You know, will we see this kid's mental fortitude? To your point, Maddie, you know, come back. And we saw it a little bit before he got injured. He was looking like the Carter of old. So hopefully we see that from day one, come 21-22.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? To dispute Maddie, because this is really what I do best, is I like that AV called him out. To be completely honest with you, I loved it because what it did was reset him. And you saw it after he took a couple games off as a healthy scratch. You just saw his play get better. He was positioning himself better. He was not giving up as many fat rebounds. He was pushing more to the back to the corners.
Very true.
And he looked better. He looked rested. He looked more mentally stable. I don't know if that's really the word I want to use, but he played better after that. He responded
absolutely.
well. He responded well. So I'm not going to be too harsh on what AV said about him and calling him out specifically, because he did the same thing last year to, who was it? I want to say it was Drew, and Drew responded well to it too. So I agree with you, Maddie, that they probably should have picked a couple different players or at least added onto that list. But if what AV said about his practice habits and all that other stuff was true, he should have been called out. He should have been, he's not playing well. Mentally, he's not there. His practice habits everything seemed to have gotten better since that, and they hit the reset button for him. So I'm confident Carter Hart's going to come back next year and be just fine. Sophomore slump, it's not an uncommon thing.
Yeah, out of all the things that I said there, that's the least of my concerns. Mm-hmm. My biggest concerns have nothing to do with Hart. My biggest concerns have the people in front of him. That's where my real concerns are.
Yeah. And then, I agree with everything else. You got defense has to be better in front of that. Special teams just overall has to be better. And then, the teams gotta be able to respond to tough losses, and they're when it becomes gut check time, 9 times out of 10 they don't respond well. So yeah, and I think that's a huge part of why you have to shake the roster up. Let AV do his thing, and I kind of agree with John a little bit. Shop Couturier around, see what you can get for him. He's been here about 10 years. You can get a nice haul for him. He's a 30-goal scorer, best two-way player in the league. Arguably. I still think Bergeron's better. But, he's a top 3 two-way offenseman in the NHL, and you can get a nice haul for him. So,
it'll be
like I said, there needs to be some kind of a shakeup here.
There does.
New coaches, same results.
Yeah, and we definitely know that something has to change here, because it can't be this way next year. Because if it happens next year, then it's like, okay, well then I guess we're blowing this up because this fucking failed, because then that's when you have to start asking that question of, okay, do we blow it up now, and you don't want to have that conversation because you feel like this team has way too much talent on it to then start talking about blowing it up. That's ridiculous. But so let's see here. And Prism saying, I'm not interested in moving. Farabee, Coots, Provy, Lawton, Hart, Allison. It'll be interesting to see. I want to see Wade Allison next year in a bigger palette. I want to see if he can make the roster next year. I would like to see him in more night-to-night capacity, because so far I think he's earned that right. I think he's earned the right to get a better look at training camp and earned the right to make an opening day roster, because the way he's played this year, he looks like he really wants to be on this team. He looks like he wants it, and he wants it real bad. And I figure, you know what? If next year rolls around, training camp, he shows more of that fire, why not? Put the kid on the opening roster. Let's see what he's got.
The kid's got it. I've been saying this since he got drafted, and even when we had Flyers development coach John Riley on, I specifically asked him a question about Wade Allison, and he said everything that I wanted to hear. Kid plays hard, works hard in practice. He's got a nose for the net. He knows how to create offense. He's going to make this team next year, and I think just because of what he did in these last few games here, last handful of games, I think he's a sure thing to make the roster next year, and this is just going to be something good for him. And I think if you put him on the right line, you're going to see a lot of good things out of him. And Priz, I would take Sutter in a heartbeat. The kid is going to be good.
Yeah, you're saying Sutter or Alex Regula?
Some good names.
I'll take
Some good
both.
names being dropped. Absolutely.
Jason. Oh, yeah, Rob. Go ahead.
No, comments always come first. Absolutely.
Jason saying, what do y'all think they do with Ghost? Well, if he doesn't get taken by Seattle, then honestly, if they can't move him in a deal, which I wouldn't be surprised if they can't, then they probably don't really. You see him off and on again, like you did this year, because AV's the kind of guy. If he doesn't really like starting you, he won't start you. And and here's the thing about Ghost. Ghost was very, very meh this year. Like every good thing he did, he balanced it out by doing something stupid, and it's like, I want to love Ghost's play, and it seems like he's got that passion on him. And every time he does something great on the offense, he has a terrible turnover in the defensive zone, and that leads to either a possible goal or a juicy opportunity. And it's like, I want to love you, Ghost, but you make it too fucking hard. You really do.
What's frustrating is that you do see the moments of good defensive play here, and then he does bring the offense now that he's been healthy with the knees. He is a frustrating player, Man, I stood up and clapped when he checked Mark Friedman into the boards there, and got a nice tidy 2-game suspension for. We'll get into that more, I'm sure, when we talk Tom Wilson. But but that was good to see. I mean, I showed like Hart coming down the stretch. That might bode well for his chances to remain on this team as like a 7th defenseman. To your point,
I mean, I think we're seeing a tryout for him right now. I think he's going to wind up being one of the guys selected to go to Seattle. To be completely honest with you, I don't see why he wouldn't. He needs a change of scenery.
He does. He does.
Well, I think that's what we're seeing from him. If he doesn't go to Seattle, he's staying put until this contract's up.
Maybe try to move him to Florida too, or whatnot. Play in his home state. That'd be good. For him for reset and rediscovering his game. There's been also talk of potentially, what they tried with Moran, and obviously they shifted him back to defense where he belongs. But what to the point of thought of possibly moving Gostisbehere up to the wing?
You know what? I wouldn't hate seeing that. We've seen it work out for certain players going the opposite way. Why not try it with Ghost and put him in a forward? I mean, he's got a good shot. He's got good offensive ability.
There was a guy who was a forward back in the day, and then they moved him to defense. And that guy turned out to be pretty good on that side. That guy was Brent Burns. So I mean,
Dustin Bufflin.
Yeah. So I mean, possibilities are there, John. I think we can agree on that. Ghost is the Kanye West of the NHL.
For sure. Back to Priz's comment before too about Farabee and Wade Allison. I mean, that's your future. You know what I mean? Kids that play with energy, and Wade Allison certainly brought the energy since his call up late here in the season. Farabee brought it very early in the season. He got downtrodden with a bulk of the team as they were slumping. But you've seen him. He had a fabulous game 2 games ago against the Penguins there. Lots of scoring chances, an absolute gorgeous power move. He's the guy that sort of, I think he's more talented than Raffle, but brings that presence of that power forward move that's strong on the puck. So those two, and also Morgan Frost, who we saw bring a lot of energy before he got hurt and lost for the season. He'll be back. That's the future. That's the core of this team. As long as you keep those boys together, some of the other young guys on the defense that I mentioned, they'll be all right. You'll shed the pieces. You'll break a few eggs and make a nice omelet.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
John saying, how excited are we for Cam York debut? Sorry if someone no one asked it previously, but yeah, it is exciting to see Cam York for the first time in a Flyers jersey. Hopefully he does well. It's going to be a tough matchup because, of course, he debuts against the Capitals, and the Flyers haven't necessarily played the Capitals well this year at all. So that's going to be an interesting test for the young man. But hey, if he plays well and he stands out on the defensive side, bright future. He still has a bright future, even if.
I mean, my only concern about Cam York is white noise. That's all that the Flyers defense is. Offensive-minded defensemen. I think Cam York's going to be a good player. Don't get me wrong. And I'm kind of excited to see him play at the NHL level and see, because he had great tournament at the World Juniors. He had a great season at Michigan. He's been playing really well with the Phantoms. I have some excitement to see how well he does in the NHL, even if it's only going to be for like three or four games. But I think in the long run, he's just going to be white noise. He's not really going to help the defensive side, which is incredibly lacking right now because I think, what is it, 5 out of the 6 defensemen are all offensive defensemen?
Yeah, that's why we've been calling for a defensive defenseman to get brought onto the team for the better part of this season.
Definition of insanity is what?
Doing the same thing
over again, expecting different results.
Yeah,
that's what I feel like they're doing. But like I said at the beginning of the show, though, I love the fact that they've been bringing these young guys up to see what they have, and I think that's one of the things that makes me look forward to watching Cam York is to see what he has.
Yeah, and I mean honestly too, Brian, you could actually apply that to the entire Flyers franchise history. The definition of madness, because how many times have the Flyers tried the same thing over and over and over again? It's gotten us to finals, but we haven't won on one of them since '75. So, you know. But anyway, Benny's Nation. How much is the decline specifically on Ghost, and how much is it on the coaching staff? A little interesting to see that the entire top 6 on the D have a down year. Honestly, it's, Ghost, I think, has had a weird – he wasn't even really doing all that well, like, last year, if I stand correct, because he was kind of just there. He's had a weird run since that one good year he had in Philly, and then after that, his
rookie year.
Yeah, and then that's it. It's been very meandering almost. It's like, he's had
his – were a problem last year, though. The knees were a big problem.
He has had his injury problems, which I think is probably where we can say a lot of that decline probably can go to is his injuries. I think that that's something we don't talk about too much. He has had some problems with his injuries.
I mean, I think it's a good mixture, to be honest, Benny's Nation. You've seen some bright spots in Ghost's game where you're like, all right, maybe, this is a building block. This is a building block. A couple games go by, he's still looking like, and then a couple games go by, right back to where he was. So it's a good mixture of both. I like Mike Yao. I think he's a good defensive-minded coach. He just not every player translates to every coach's system. So
yeah, that is true.
Like I said, it's a mixture of both.
Him and several other defensemen are often caught out of position, which led to a large amount of the giveaways this season, passing east to west rather than moving it up out of the zone. If you strategize and use maybe like more of like a 1-3-1 rather than it seemed like they really had like a 1-2-2. You know what I mean? To have the defensive back, sort of parallel instead of like almost perpendicular or diagonal for the setup for that outlet pass. That was something that we've seen in the past that Gostisbehere was really good about. And this year, amongst him and several other defensemen and forwards, were so bad with the outlet pass.
And I'm glad you brought that up because that's a great point because, like you said, we've seen it with a bunch of the defensemen, and I think that's been one of the causes of the amount of turnovers in the defensive zone is going for that home run pass instead of taking what's kind of in front of you and letting kind of the game come to you. They're trying to force it.
Yeah.
So when you have like 3 guys hanging out at the blue line and you're trying to hit one guy and you got 4 guys in that area that are wearing different colored jerseys, you're going to turn it over every single time instead of maybe taking a shorter pass to the opposite side of the inboards and allowing the other defenseman just to skate up a little bit to the neutral zone.
I mean, how many times have we seen that pass get picked off, and then it would result in either a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-2 the other way, and then that led to either a great opportunity for the other team or a goal. It's like like you were saying, Brian, definition of madness. It's like at some point you gotta say, okay, that is not fucking working. At some point, you got to say it,
And a lot of that comes back to being AV system as well, is that style of passing. But when you see it's not working and you're turning over the puck more often than you're getting it out of the zone, your transition game suffers from that. So with that, it's just, that's where it becomes a mixture of both. It's up to the players to have to sometimes make that adjustment of the coaching and be like, this pass isn't working. All right, let me see what else I got. And maybe take a shorter pass and let the defenseman skate up to the neutral zone.
Yeah, and Benny's Nation saying poor gap control with the D not having great outlet passes, and that's basically what we were saying. Yeah, so we're all on that page on that one. That's one of the things that definitely didn't help offensively, and then on top of that, that led to problems defensively, and that's a whole other issue that they were having this year is getting back on defensive positioning in time, which they had a very bad problem doing that. Whether it was because of a quick turnover or if it was just because the team wound up getting the puck in their own zone and getting a nice outlet pass. And so, all right, guys. So with that, let's do a quick roundabout here of our best and worst Flyers moments, and then we'll get into big topic that happened around the league. So I would say some of the, we've got plenty of worst moments. Let me try and pull some of the best moments because Don did laugh when he said the Flyers had best moments. They did have good moments.
Tom did too.
Yeah.
Tommy did too. And I pretty much said the same thing in our little group chat. I guess for one of my best moments of the year was
what did I tell you at the beginning of the show?
I don't remember.
I said, he doesn't mess with our pledges. Only we get to mess with our pledges.
All right, fine. Take it away, fellas. It's all you.
No, not the moment. I'm saying that to your previous statement. You can continue.
But
plenty of good moments. Every season's got good moments. Come on now.
Yeah, it wasn't all bad. I mean, so here, let's pull out some best moments before we get into the bad. Okay, let's just do that just for the shit of it. So first good moment for me that I'm going to throw out there, getting that win against Boston in Boston with Sanheim getting that OT winner, that was a good moment because we lost to the Bruins every single time and badly. We lost badly to them every single time. For us to get that win may not mean that much in the long run, but for just the simple fact of, okay, they didn't fucking sweep us at least. We at least can say we beat them. We wound up beating them twice because we beat them once in Philly at least. But we got that win in Boston in OT. That's a good moment right there. One of the few bright spots in the year. You take what you can get. I'll take that. It's like, all right, Sanheim got a good win for us there in that OT. And it was also great because the ref didn't call something back happening when Patrick took Marchand down by holding his stick, and Marchand bitched and complained. All right, come fuck us. Go complain all you want. Fuck you. You don't fucking deserve nothing. Fuck you, Marchand. You and your French fucking weirdness that you got going on where you lick people. Fuck off, Marchand. Anyway.
I zoned out for a second, and I come back to that. What?
I was just talking about Marchand. But anyway.
You know what? I at the hockey store, I deal with a lot of, believe it or not, I deal with a lot of different fan bases. One of the fan bases I deal with a lot is Bruins fans. And I do have to agree, as much as you're not going to like it. If Marchand was a Flyer, you would love him.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's kind of the same thing as, it's the same thing with, would have loved to have had Crosby on this team, but I hate him because he's a Penguin. Would have loved to have
it's the same thing.
Yeah,
you hate him because he's good.
Yeah, but still fuck Marchand because he's a Bruin. So, but anyway,
as long as they're scoring goals, yeah, they would be okay with me, but they wouldn't be like, I wouldn't be buying their jersey. You know what I mean? Because there's current Flyers that I'm like, you're just not my cup of tea.
And that's understandable. Like that, it is what it is. Wow, Russia just pulled within 1. 4-3 in the halfway through the third. Hi,
Eileen. We're doing okay, even if the Flyers miss the playoffs.
It's I can't even. I don't even know. It's something. Yeah, Tommy, they were considered a cup contender, and I saw them as a I saw them as a Eastern Conference Finals favorite.
And even going into the season, sure, they were getting outshot, but this was one of my best moments. Was 12 games into the season, this team was 7-3-2, and they were scoring goals with net front presence, and thus winning games despite the low shot total. That it was looking like a good formula that we were saying, can they sustain it? Well, obviously we got that answer, and the answer was no. But there was a lot of promise to the season, and that was definitely, I'd say, working from past to forward. That was my first good moment.
One of my favorite moments for the Flyers this year was watching Wade Allison make his debut.
Yeah.
That kid in his first game, he brought all kinds of energy, and I loved it. He put himself in great positions to score multiple goals in that game, created a bunch of different styles of offense. That close to scoring in his debut, like he brings something special to this team, and that's something they miss badly right now. Is a guy who has that nose for the net. He's a junkyard dog and is going to do everything he can to put himself not only in position but to put the puck in the back of the net.
Yeah. And Eileen's saying, I want to say agree to the poll, but I'm going to say disagree, unfortunately. And Jermaine Flaw saying, saying, any chance the Flyers beat Washington one of these next two games? Ironically, because it's the end, I could totally see the Flyers actually beating Washington one of these games. It'll be weird because this is what happens. Like when the Flyers have nothing to play for, they come out and they win games somehow, and it's like, boy, where the fuck was this when you guys had a shot? But I could see it. Yeah, pressure is off, and you know what? I could see them beating Washington. I don't know if Washington, I'm not going to say Washington won't try because I think they will. I just think Washington will be I think their head's more focused on first round necessarily. Not necessarily. They're trying to finish out these games, finish them out strong, but I think they're more ready to go for, okay, let's finish these up. Let's get ready for the first round. I feel like their head's kind of in that mode right now.
Could be, but 2 points separating them in the Pens for first. It depends. It depends on who you want to match up with in the first round. Are you craving that first? That's going to really be the question for how the Caps come out and play. Especially after being it's exhausting when you're playing these contentious games like they've been playing, and started off with there was a all-out brawl on the ice before the opening puck drop of the Rangers-Caps game tonight. So, what Caps team will we get is a good question there, Maddie. But, but even Boston's 4 points out of first. And any one of these teams, the four teams, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4 in either order. That's how tight it is.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to bring up Jeff Carter tonight. The guy drops a 4-piece.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Jeff Carter.
He's gearing up for the playoffs, though, man.
Yeah, he definitely is. There's one guy who he's aged like wine. He is, he's not trailed off. Richard's trailed off huge. Carter
He doesn't play hockey anymore. He fishes now.
Yeah. But it's just, man, Carter, man, he's still going. Still freaking going. It's crazy to think about that. 2 cups deep, and he's still got that fire in him.
But you know what's funny? Since he kind of slowed down a little bit in LA over the last 2 years, he got to Pittsburgh. Holy shit. He found a scoring touch again.
Eileen's comment, I want to lick Brendan Moore's chest. I think a lot of women want to, actually, honestly. Oh, my God, that's great. Oh, man. Rob, you got a comment on that one? Yeah.
I'll say what I said in the chat. Oh, my.
Honestly, when it comes to females, who doesn't? Hot Rod. He was the man back in 80, the 80s and 90s for sure.
I love that Maddie said that Jeff Carter is like a fine wine. For the ladies, I think Rod Brindamore has been like that fine wine. And you know what? I'm comfortable enough with my sexuality to say that I think Rod Brindamore has gotten a little more attractive as he's gotten older. I think he's a good-looking guy.
Yeah, he's aged. Yeah, he doesn't look bad. No, absolutely
He's
not.
aged well.
Yeah, he's pretty much still got the same face that he had when he was playing. You know, it's not really changed at all. You know what I mean?
What the hell? Eileen's got us off the rails. What the hell is going on? Wheels, championship talk? You got to go through Carolina first there, bud.
Here's the thing, though. With this division, too, Pittsburgh, I mean, yeah, it's possible they can get out of the East. It's not out of the question. But I don't know. I know they have that history of beating Washington, but Washington's beaten them now. So now I'm thinking like, have they changed the mojo around enough to where they can actually beat Pittsburgh? And remember, Lavi has a good history facing Pittsburgh. I mean, we remember his time coaching the Flyers. They used to run the freaking Penguins off the rink back when Lavi was coaching the Flyers. So again, it's one of those things of maybe the coach just knows how to beat them. You know, I'm just saying, I don't think Capitals are a slam dunk elimination. And who knows? I mean, I don't think Boston's getting out of the first round because if you shut down that perfection line. But also, let's not count out the Islanders because the Islanders can pull some shit and play real good defense. And next thing you know, well, shit, we're out. Like, yep, you couldn't figure out what the fuck they were doing defensively. We couldn't either. So, that's what happens.
and a team nobody's talking about is our defending champions.
Yeah. Yeah, no one's talking about the Lightning. You know, they could easily get out of their not easily, but they could get out of their division. I mean, it'll be a fight, but they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, they dropped a little bit. I think they're 5 points back in the Hurricanes, so they got that locked up. But, sometimes you see a smart team conserve that energy for the tournament.
Yeah, you could. And Tampa Bay's not even going to see Carolina.
Yep.
Not until, I think, the conference finals, whatever they are.
Just to say, Carter gives me the Joe Thornton vibe. Boy, it's a shame Frank didn't stick around.
He's right over there in the right jersey, by the way. Just saying.
There you go.
I used to have a Flyers jersey. I don't remember. I think I wound up giving it away. It got too small.
Prism, SJP, Brenda Moore, power couple.
For you, Chris. For you. You sit on it and spin, buddy.
Oh God, that's funny. Oh yeah, but let's see. Brian, he's saying one last run. I doubt the Pens feel more of a second round KO this year.
Wheels, they'll definitely make another run. They've been playing well enough, especially in the second half of the year, that they could definitely make a run, and they always do.
Now I'm going to say this, Brian. Not you, Brian, but Brian P. Wheeler. Have to separate it. I'm going to say this. The Penguins are absolutely capable of winning another Stanley Cup. But I'm also going to say this. I hope they never win another Stanley Cup because I have to say that, and I will say that. So they can. I just hope they don't. So...
By the way, you can check Brian Wheeler out on Kicking It Stateside every, Friday, Saturday, whichever you guys decide to go on there, Wheels?
Absolutely. For all of the soccer fans out there, I don't know if, are we getting to the end of soccer season or is that getting started?
I know one of the finals is coming up, Chelsea League, I think. I don't know.
Okay.
Wheels is the guy to go to as far as our soccer stuff.
I know a little bit. They have Champions League working up towards its finals. I know I've been doing that with DFS side, and then I still believe when they pause the EPL to every few weeks to take part in Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays games for the UCL. And I think that there's teams that make the regulation that will work towards their playoff system. That's what I'm a little unfamiliar with. That's why you got to tune in to Kicking It Stateside.
Absolutely. I think it's Manchester United and Chelsea in the finals, I believe, in the Premier League. I could be wrong, but like I said, if you're interested in soccer, check out the boys on Kicking It Stateside. Adam and Wheels are They know their shit when it comes to soccer. Let's just leave it at that.
Definitely.
I've learned a few things.
I can't wait until the World Cup rolls around for those guys to be covering that. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be real interesting. But
I know Chelsea has helped me win a few bucks, so I like Chelsea.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, for that reasoning alone, and also too, it reminds me of Chelsea from Impact back in the day. You want to know what Chelsea told me? She said, I tried the old guy. Young guys are much faster, stronger, and they're 60-minute men, baby.
That is fucking great.
I think my jokes have frozen Brian into space, all space and time here.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so Brian says, so the European leagues are ending like we were talking about, and then MLS is starting. So for all the stateside soccer lovers, yeah, we lost Bri. We'll get him back. Oh, God. Prism. Shaolin Soccer, the Big Green Ladybugs. Rodney Dangerfield taught me all I know about soccer, which still ain't shit. I just understand the offside.
Oh. Prism now knows that your man Pove is the fucking GIF maestro. Like, I just dropped the perfect GIFs in the right 6 scenarios, no matter what the context. Well, what is it? Scooter McGavin or Scooter McGregor, that the Cowboys fan that posts a lot on Facebook and Twitter, does those videos and stuff. He was talking about John Means throwing a no-hitter, very special no-hitter, where it was basically one play away from a perfect game. It was the first no-hitter that wasn't perfect by a passed ball on a strikeout. So he faced the minimum. So he was throwing a little shout out to, like, you know, name a sporting accomplishment that's like more rare or as cherished as the no-hitter. And I commented with the triple Lindy, and I had the gift of Rodney Dangerfield go like this.
So let me catch up because my Wi-Fi is being a dick right now. Benny's Nation's actually correct. It is Man City versus Chelsea. So I was wrong about that. So word up there. Wheels, we love you too. Even though you are a Penguins fan, but you're good with me on everything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only negative thing. But it's like Clinky. You know, it's like the only negative thing we have to say is that you're a Pens fan. That's the only negative thing we got.
At least you're not a fucking Devils fan, all right? Despite my logo.
Oh
I will say I do work with the Devils fan at the hockey store, but you know what? He's my boy. He's cool as shit. So he's all right in my book, for even if he is a Devils fan.
Are you guys close enough to where you're going to go up to the Rock and watch the Ducks play the Devils when we get back to regular season? Nice. Nice. I know you've been there, so that'll be interesting.
Yep.
But yeah, Eileen definitely emphasized it better. Fuck the Devils. Yeah, fuck the Devils. Anyway, all right. So, another final. Rob responding. Brian was responding to Rob's icon. But anyway, all right, guys. So one last thing too. So we'll give one last quick best moment, and then we'll give some of our worst moments, and then we'll get back. We'll get right into the main topic. So, final best moment I want to point out for me. Speaking of the Penguins, Carter Hart. We were talking about how he rebounded and he played really well. Great game against the Penguins that he had over in PPG Paints Arena. Penguins were firing on all cylinders. The Flyers were firing on all cylinders. Both goaltenders were standing on their heads. Jari played really well, and so did Hart. We go to a shootout, and Hart does this amazing thing where he winds up winning the shootout by making 2 spectacular glove saves. And he did it on Crosby, too, which was great to see. That's a great moment right there for me. That just, that once again gets your fire up on the whole people wanting to trade Hart thing. That just makes you want to put one of these so high that everyone can see it from space. Like, anybody who wants to get rid of Carter Hart, you could sit on this and fucking rotate for me, quite frankly. Because Carter Hart's the shit, and he proved it in that game right there. That was fucking phenomenal for me. All right. You guys give one last best moment, and then we'll get into the worst, and then we'll get going on the main topic on Around the League.
I got 2 real quick ones.
Sure.
Sam Moran's first goal against the Rangers and the way the team celebrated afterwards was just so special, for all that he's been through. And speaking about players that have gone through a lot, Oscar's first home game with the fans in the stands.
Yes. Very good moment right there. Brian, what you got for us on your final best moment?
Oh, did Rob give both? I thought he only gave one.
Did he give both? Yeah, I thought he did.
Moran and Oscar. Moran's first goal against the Rangers, and then Oscar's first game back with the fans.
All right, I missed that one.
Night, Eileen.
Have a great night, Eileen. It's not really a good moment, but it was one that I really like. Stuck out to me was the night that Boston just absolutely smashed the Flyers. I believe it was 6-1, 6-2, something along those lines. Watching Carter Hart show some kind of emotion and frustration and shattering his stick over the net was a really good moment for me, because I think we needed to see at that point, we needed to see some kind of emotion from somebody on that team, some kind of frustration, especially after a game like that where they got manhandled the entire game. It was just, to me, it was good to see. And they responded well the next game. I believe they came out and wound up getting the win the next game. And that's something we didn't see enough of this year as well throughout the entire season, was seeing players show signs of frustration, showing some kind of an emotion. So that was kind of like my biggest – that to me was like my favorite moment of the entire year.
Absolutely. All right, then. All right, and Prism saying, "Oh yeah, when Hart smashed his stick." Yep, that was kind of the first red flag. That was the moment you're like, "Oh boy, oh boy, are we in for a bad one?" We were. All right, guys. So on to our worst moments. We'll give a couple real quickly from all of us, and then we'll kick right on into the main topic here. So for me, the first worst moment I'll bring up, Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe was a brutal fucking game. And what was really annoying about it was that the Flyers started off competing with the Bruins. Then the second period happened, and it all fucking fell apart. And I was like, Jesus. At that moment, I thought, like, did Boston fucking hex us? Like, after they got eliminated by – who eliminated them? Was it Tampa? No, it was – yeah, it was Tampa. Now that I remember correctly, it was the semis. So – what, did they fucking hex us? I'm like, why the fuck are you mad at us? It's like, you didn't play well in your exhibition games and we took first place. If anything, it fucked us in the end because we faced the Islanders. So what are you mad at us for? So I felt like they fucking hexed us or something like that, because it was just like, oh my God, we suck so bad against them. It was just, that was so bad. That was probably the worst outdoor performance the Flyers had. And keep in mind, the Flyers didn't have a positive record in outdoor games going into it either. So, that was rough. That was a rough game.
Nah, 100%. I mean, the Flyers were keeping up with them there in the first period because, as you remember, temperatures were a concern, and I think the ice was still sluggish. But as it started turning into nightfall and that ice started getting a little bit more, more frozen, more crisp or whatever, that's when you saw them, just start to take off like you saw in several games earlier on in the season. Yeah, I really, that was a big turning point in the season. If you remember correctly, Maddie, that was one of their first games. No, if not their first game back coming from, having 6 players out with COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we're still missing players for that game. So, that's certainly something that changed the season and why that, if we don't get the type of changes that we're all hoping for as fans here, that is something to consider. Is that, it was a weird year due to the pandemic.
So Benny's kind of leading into my moment here.
Anytime I see Zibanejad,
it's true, because Zibanejad is a thorn in the side of the Philadelphia Flyers. Before I jump into that, though, I want to give a huge congratulations out there to the U18 Team Canada national team, clinching the gold medal in the World Juniors in the U18 tournament. So congratulations to them. Russia will get silver, and I believe Finland got the bronze. I didn't happen to see the results of that game, but Team Canada rebounds after World Juniors and
wins that in the U18.
Wins the U18 tourney. Couple young guys that are going to be coming out in the next couple years in the draft. Just to mention real quick, Connor Bedard on Team Canada, and How did I say his name earlier? Meitai Michkov from Team Russia. 16-year-old stud. What was I saying earlier, Rob, when I was going through some of the stats? 50 games a couple years ago.
It was fewer. I thought it was fewer.
You're right. You're right. I think it might have been 25 games.
Yeah, it was 29 games, 102 points,
109 points in 25 games.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fell two goals shy of tying Ovechkin's record in the World Juniors this year in the U18s, but he's only 16 years old too.
So maybe we're seeing a new Ovechkin coming into the NHL possibly.
The kid's gonna be something special if he's already putting up points like that.
Yeah. Boy, I hope
he say all the time. Russians put out machines, right?
They do. Yeah. Just ask Pavel Datsyuk, Ilya Kovalchuk. I mean, great players.
Kovalchuk was soft, but that's whole story for another day.
Mentally, he was definitely soft. I can tell you that much. It's like, yeah, sign me to this big contract. Fuck you. I'm going back to Russia.
I want the contract with Devils. Well, okay, you know what? I don't want the contract no more. I want to go home.
Speaking of going back to Russia, it'd be an interesting story to see how it plays out as this kid moves up the ranks, and I imagine playing for a KHL team as he gets drafted into the NHL. There's been some talk that rather than Ovechkin chasing down Gretzky and the goals streak, him wanting to finish his career playing back in Russia in the KHL. Be interesting to get, the old and new together, to pass the torch, whether it be in the KHL or actually in the NHL.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I heard that too. I wouldn't be surprised if he did both.
Yeah. All right. So
my worst moment was the night of I'm not even going to give you the date. Flyers Rangers. Flyers lost 9-0, and that's all I'm going to say on it.
That was bad. That was the moment I realized we were fucked. I was like, "Yep, that's it. We're done. Season's over. Go home, boys. Pack it in."
What gave it away? The touchdown in the extra point in the second period?
It wasn't even just
but it
that.
wasn't a bad first period either. Like, that's the funniest part about it. Second period came out, they put up a freaking touchdown. Like,
yeah, I know that was bad. And then the worst part of it was the reaction from the Flyers. They just didn't do anything. I'm like, nothing. You're not even gonna try and get suspended. I mean, Christ, at least we saw Ghost do that at the end of the Penguins game, for fuck's sake. I mean, I know that you shouldn't, but still, nothing. You're not trying anything. You're not trying to fight. You're not trying to hit hard. You're not doing nothing. Like, Jesus, you're not even trying to score at least one goal? Like, good.
Hang on. Let's hit a timeout here real quick. There is no way some of these kids are 18 and under. I'm pretty sure I just saw a kid with a full beard.
Before you said that last sentence, I was going to be like, that's what I say every time I log on to Pornhub.
Wow.
He went there. But expect nothing less from me, Rob. No, this kid McTavish.
I quickly switch off, though. Of course. I'm respectful.
Clear the browser history and move on.
Clear everything. Just closes the computer, sets it on fire. Never again. No, but for real, like this kid McTavish on Team Canada, I'm pretty sure he just had a full beard.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even like it was like thick.
Well,
like he's been shaving since he was like 8.
Well, hold on. Does he have an Italian last name?
His name is McTavish.
All right. Well, then no.
Irish.
Okay. I wanted to be
Scottish.
Sure. The goalie has a chin strap. Like this is.
Maybe they think they're 18. They self-identify as 18, so they got away with it. Use the PC system to your advantage.
But yeah, that was my worst moment. 9-0 Rangers. I think Z had like 75 goals in that game.
Yeah. All right. So those are some of the worst moments we have. All right. Prism is chomping at the bit, and I think this comment pretty much ties us into it. All right. Let's get into it, boys. So the Rangers and the Capitals had themselves a couple of games over in Madison Square Garden. We all know a certain player on the Capitals has a nice little history of pissing people off and doing, let's just say, dirty plays, cheap shots and shit like that. Kind of player that, gives the sport a bit of a black eye. That gentleman's name is, of course, Tom Wilson. And he decided to add to that history because he started punching, who was it? It wasn't Sharangovich, it was the other one. Right? Buchnevich. I get Sharangovich and Buchnevich mixed up because of their last names. But he was back, baby. Thank you. And he was punching Buchnevich in the back of the head, and they were claiming it was the shoulder. Okay, sure. And then after that, then they get into the scuffle because, of course, that's going to happen when you're punching somebody in the back of the head. And by the way, he was down on the ice, so it wasn't even like he was chirping at him or anything. He was just punching him in the back of the head for no fucking reason. And then Panarin at some point gets tussled up with him, and then Wilson takes him and throws him to the ice, just full force to the ice. Panarin suffers a lower body injury, and now he's out for the last 3 games of the Rangers season, which included a concussion.
Longer.
Yeah, probably longer.
No, it doesn't even matter because they're not even making the playoffs.
They're not in the playoff. We'll see if hopefully that doesn't have any residual effects because it is a shorter off season. Hopefully it doesn't have any residual effects there. But point is that after all that's said and done, the act is bad enough as it is. It's bad enough as it is. Then the response. The NHL decides to only give Wilson a $5,000 fine for his actions. Keep in mind, that very same week of action, Shane Gostisbehere hit Mark Friedman with a cross-check to his side. Friedman goes flying into the boards, which is the hardest part of the boards at the bottom. He gets up and skates away at the end of the day. He doesn't get hurt, which Friedman's a mouthy little shit, so, he probably deserved it. But all the same, Gostisbehere should have suffered a suspension and a fine because this was after the play and he had scored the empty netter. This is after the game. You shouldn't do that. Your temper got the hold of you there. Fine. He got a 2-game suspension. I'm fine with that. Understandable. And yet, Tom Wilson doesn't get a game suspension. Not even 2? Not even 1? What the fuck does that say to people? What does that say in terms of from the league's standpoints of discipline? It's like, where's the parity? It's like, Wilson fucking, injured a guy, and he most likely did it on purpose. I don't give a shit if the Rangers weren't going to the playoffs. I don't care. He did it on purpose. Wilson has a history of doing shit like this. He's been suspended before like this, and yet he doesn't get a suspension for this. And yet Gostisbehere, who doesn't have a history of this, he gets suspended, rightfully so, for hitting Friedman and knocking him into the boards.
Well, let's back up real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
Let's back up. So, a couple things I'm going to add to this, and it's going to make things a little bit worse, is to start the whole scrum, the one thing that Tom Wilson did to Pavel Buchnevich, which really got things going, taking his stick and essentially cross-checking Buchnevich in the back of the head, driving his head to the ice.
That's what it was.
And then starts to hammer on his head.
Yeah.
So that gets the scrum going. You see Panarin and Wilson tangle up. Wilson loses, takes the helmet off of Panarin. Legitimately, and Maddie, you watch wrestling.
Yeah.
So you know what this looks like. Kind of suplexes him to the ice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, what he did to Buchnevich, he did to Panarin as well. So he drove his head into the ice and swung and punched on his head, too. Now, I get the gloves never came off, but in that same breath, like what the Rangers said in their press release, which they got a $250,000 fine for, which I understand the frustration of the Rangers, and I understand Gary Bettman's point to get across, like, don't disrespect officials in the league. Where was I going with that? It's an act of violence. Is what it is.
It's an assault. Just to help you out, Brian, freaking immediately what I compared it to was McSorley taking the stick to Donald Bashir's head, and same thing for Todd Bertuzzi, who both got charged with assault in a court of law. Let alone a suspension.
And there's still no proof that Bertuzzi was the one that broke Dominic Moore's neck.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I mean, we've seen shit like this before, and to put this into perspective too, you want to know why we had enforcers back in the day? You want to know why we had tough guys on our team? Because of shit like this.
Right.
Because you didn't want your players, your skilled players, particularly like a Panarin, to get liberties taken on them and get the shit kicked out of them. You wanted to discourage that kind of behavior. So if the league wasn't going to do it, the teams did it themselves. And so you employed a Donald Brashear. You employed a George LaRock. You employed a Dave Schultz back in the day. You employed a Marty McSorley. You employed guys like that whose job it was to fight. There's a reason why Gretzky never had anyone look at him cross-eyed. It was because they had to deal with Dave Semenko, and you didn't want to do that because Semenko would kill you. He would eat you. And so at the end of the day, that's why we had enforcers. I thought we were trying to get rid of that.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And I think we are. And the worst part about this whole situation is, as much as George Peros, he didn't even just drop the ball. He dropped the ball and kicked it down the street on this. I really don't understand how he didn't get a suspension. But here's the craziest thing about this whole thing. Tom Wilson has a place in the league. The dude is a grinder. He has offensive upside. We've seen him score 30 goals.
He has skills.
It's
a shame he's got to be a scumbag along with it. I agree with you 100%.
He's got a place in the league. It's not like he's just a guy who's out there literally throwing bodies around and taking cheap shots at players.
Yeah.
He literally has a place in this league. We've seen him score 30 goals. So he's got offensive upside. He's got talent. He's got a shot. He's got an ability to get open and create offense. But he also has a huge ability to be the biggest scumbag in the league.
He's got anger issues, dude. It's obviously rage issues where he flies off the handle, and you're condoning this by throwing a measly $5,000 fine towards him. I mean, regardless of whether there's injury or not, yes, Freeman wasn't injured, but still, I agree with the Gosper, 2-game suspension. Actually, puts a little hair on his balls. I like to see it, right? But in regards to Tom Wilson, this egregious behavior, it's solid. It really soils who is really a good hockey player, right? And in the end, whether the player's injured or not, in this case, there was an injury. Bertuzzi, regardless, actions or not, McSorley, obvious. On top of suspension, there's, I'm appalled that there's no charges being placed. It's just, you're condoning the activity to continue. You're enabling it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's one of the worst parts about it. Now, granted, he got a little bit of what was coming to him last night in the Rangers Capitals game. Brendan Smith going after him, and that was just completely expected and to no one's surprise. He did leave the first period with an injury. Of course, he also got kicked out of the first period and had a 10-minute suspension, or misconduct. But it makes no sense why George Peros wouldn't suspend this and these actions, but suspends Shane Gostisbehere for his actions, and then suspends Pavel Buchnevich for a high stick to the jaw of Anthony Mantha.
Yeah.
Both situations deserving of a suspension. But the guy who has rage issues that takes his jersey off after every time he fights or every situation and starts flexing at people doesn't get the suspension. I agree with the Rangers. They should have sent out the statement that they did. They should have been upset. They should have been frustrated. Somebody needed to call George Peros out because there is a huge lack of consistency when it comes to punishing all these players in some of these incidents. Now, I guess some incidents aren't as bad as others,
Yeah.
But this was an incident deserving of suspension of a repeat offender. Not just once, not twice, not 3 times, but he's been suspended 5 times in his history. 5 times for actions similar to that.
Yeah.
And he got nothing. $5,000.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't understand how that makes sense. It doesn't at all. And then on top of it, and we got Jesse Davis chiming in. Suspensions for iffy high stick calls should just force players to wear cages like college. The NHL was really focused on player safety, which
I question that even without that, Jesse, man. Like, I mean, a helmetless player got thrown to the ice by Tom Wilson. And then a player who was in a defenseless position had his head driven to the ice and then punched repeatedly.
Which makes up for the fact that the gloves never came off. It doesn't matter. He cross-checked his head into the ice. It's like, that's basically even worse than him taking his gloves off and punching him. So it's like, again, it's, the lack of consistency here is stunning. Because you saw 2 suspensions happen this week that were rightful to give out, but yet at the end of the day, one that should have went out didn't go out. And it's like, how does that make sense? Especially considering the history that Wilson has. And correct me if I'm wrong, was Wilson the guy who almost killed Crosby in that Winter Classic game?
I don't remember.
Is that somebody else?
Through the elbow, right?
Yeah, that took Crosby down, and he was like
that was
down.
Tom Wilson. I don't remember who that was.
That wasn't him, but either way, he did something to the Penguins, though, in the playoffs a couple years back, and the Pens actually went and got tough guys to try and make up for that. That's why they went and got Ryan Reeves, because of what he did in that playoff series. So he has plenty of history of this shit. We already know this, and it's just one of those things of, how do you not suspend him when it's an obvious suspension? This makes no fucking sense.
It's a weird perception towards him because maybe of the good side that we were referring to in terms of the skill and the excitement that he does bring to the game. Because I told Brian before off camera that a post from A2D New York for Tom Wilson and calling him out, sharing it in groups, you'd be surprised at the people that came out to defend Wilson and what have you. And apparently that was the same sentiment that George Perro shared at head of player safety. And it was interesting that, the Rangers upper brass one day calls it out for him and to be removed from his job that it was so egregiously wrong. And then the next day they themselves lost their job with John Davidson being fired as president of the Rangers. And their GM losing his job as well. So it caused a lot of big stink there, man.
Yeah, and they say it wasn't related. They say that was like the statement was the owner's idea.
I'm not buying that at all because he was pissed that they didn't respond the way he liked to Tom Wilson. He was very vehemently upset. He sent out a tweet and everything. I'm like, he didn't even tell the GMs or what have you that he was getting that done. I'm like, Dolan, this is totally related. Dolan got rid of them because he was pissed off about what happened. That's exactly what happened.
But it makes no sense to fire these guys. These are the 2 guys that have put them in the position they're in.
No, I'm not saying it doesn't at all.
And a lot of young talent.
So I'm saying. So it had to be a disagreement in terms of that release statement. I'm with you, Maddie. I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm just saying. Like, that firing just makes no sense.
Right, but that is what they said. They said the 2 had nothing to do with each other. Mm-hmm. Right.
Even Dolan's come out and said, like, my termination of these 2 guys is not related to the statement that was released yesterday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure it wasn't. Dolan is like, it's like, come on, man, like you're a terrible liar. Like if you're gonna own an NHL team, at least be a better liar than that. Come on.
I got a good question for you guys right now. Right. So let's say Tom Wilson did this to one of the Flyers star players. Pick one. It's kind of hard this season.
Did it to Giroux.
So what star?
Let's say he did it to Jay, right? Would the Flyers come out and respond the way the Rangers did?
This team, honestly, I don't even know if they would have.
I don't know if they would have. Well, it depends. Depends on who's on the ice with them. Some of those guys may not have given them a chance to respond.
I'm saying
they would have been
whether it be in that game or coming out the next game with the 140 penalty minutes and fights and and what have you coming out, because I question that too in terms of you didn't see it all year. Yeah.
In the response that the Rangers did last night, I doubt it, but somebody would have met up with Tom Wilson and started to throw some fists.
I could see Scotty Lawton. Yeah,
Lawton,
I could see that.
I could see
Haig,
even
Sanheim.
Konechny probably would have been willing to do it.
Moran.
Yeah, Moran, definitely.
Activate his ass just for Wilson.
Yeah, but I mean,
you might still see it.
And so he's saying, here's the problem, though. If Wilson even sneezes on someone in the playoffs now, he is done. I think it hurts the Capitals more now. He won't be able to even touch Crosby in the playoffs. That's it. That's a good point. The refs are going to definitely be on the hunt for him now, after the shit he just pulled. And Benny's Nation saying Farabee would be the guy, which is the problem. Farabee.
I don't see a lie there.
Yeah,
I don't see a lie there.
Yeah, I do love Farabee though with his fight, but it's like, all right, advice.
Maybe see Oscar Lindblom go out there.
Yeah, same thing with Lindblom. It's like, okay, advice: bulk up. If you're gonna fight Tom Wilson, it's a good time to bulk up.
If you're gonna fight Tom Wilson, all you need to do is just kick him in the nuts and run.
On Tuesday? Who just dropped Friedman with one punch? I just watched that earlier today, but I forget the player.
I don't know who they played Tuesday. I haven't really been
paying attention.
Oh, good question.
Oh my goodness! If somebody out there please remind me. But it was.
Was it Lawton or was it Connect?
No, it wasn't
Connector. No, was it? No, it wasn't Farabee. Couldn't have been Farabee. No. Oh, it was Farabee. Yeah, he's right. Benny said it was Farabee.
Yeah, that was Farabee, right? Freeman got the 1-2 punch in, but then he came over the top and just drilled him and went down. Dude, that motherfucker is soft as fuck, and it's painfully obvious how much fucking hatred his former teammates have for him. I mean, mud on. He must have been just that douchebag in the locker room. Apparently, there's been a virus there. That's been the real virus this year. Fuck Corona. It's been fucking douchebaggery. In the locker room. We need to get rid of the fucking douchebags. Rob?
Huh? Who was it that we were talking to? Was it Riley? It may have been Colby that said Mark Friedman was just not liked in the locker room.
Yeah, I think it was Riley because I think Riley knew him.
You're right. It was Riley. It's the last time I had Riley on because he was saying he was telling the story when he was coaching for the Phantoms that
coached them. Yeah,
he coached Mark.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's a shame because I liked him for a little while. I thought he had a good couple games up with the Flyers, and it was a shame he didn't go. But maybe
he had good leadership ability. He had good leadership. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But apparently, it was he liked barking and telling people what to do. Probably a little too much.
He was like,
worried about his own game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like when with Harry Zonerchuk when we had Harry Z for that short period, and he was up for 2 games. He scored a goal, and it was a crazy goal he scored on Ottawa. It's the only goal he ever had, and he played 5 games for the Flyers. Then he goes to Pittsburgh, and he plays 6 games. So it's like, what the fuck?
Whatever happened to him?
He retired. He went to the AHL, and that's where most of his career was. I think he was playing for the Springfield Falcons, and he was going to come back for another year, and he just decided to retire. And the only reason why is because I randomly looked him up because I remembered, out of nowhere, I'm like, oh, yeah, whatever did happen to Zonerchuk? Because he had an awesome name. It's a real shame he didn't fucking make it,
Yeah, he was. I always liked him. He was a good bottom 6 player. Solid bottom 6 player.
Yeah. He said Friedman has scored. He has scored twice against the Flyers now since he left. Well, he has, but ultimately the funny part of it is that I think it's because Friedman wants to. Other than that, I don't think he has the motivation to. It's I'm going to score in the Flyers. Those are his only 2 goals, by the way, this entire year. He scored that goal in that game where the Flyers came back on. And ironically enough, Giroux gave a bad turnover, and that's what happened. And then he got that empty netter. Those are the only 2 goals he has this entire year. Was against the Flyers. So I think the hatred is very much mutual between both sides. It's just the I don't know if it's going to be Flyers versus Crosby. It's going to be the Flyers versus Friedman if he stays on the fucking team. Anyway. Oh,
It's
so
good. We need to reignite the rivalry again, you know?
true. But I will say this, though. One other thing that I'm going to pull out as a good moment, we can still win the Battle of Pennsylvania, even if we're having a shitty year, because the Flyers did win most of the games against Pittsburgh. So, all right, at least we won that. I'll take it. It doesn't mean anything in the long run, but you know what? I'll take it. For
We
pride
took
reasons
even
alone.
with that last loss, we still won the series. All right, woohoo!
Yeah, because we won the first 2 games. We won the next 2 games in Pittsburgh. Then after that, we lost 1 game in Pittsburgh, but then we won the next game after that. And yeah, I know, Bri. It doesn't mean much, but it's like, yeah. But for pride reasons, I'll take it. It's like, fuck it, we can still beat them.
What do you guys think? Should I accept this friend request?
Yes. Yes,
Right,
you
definitely.
should. Yeah.
that name matches the Getty image that you used for your fucking profile shot. You fucking talk about more douchebaggery. That's a good example of douchebaggery.
Oh my God.
Something about that just doesn't seem right. Not quite sure what it is though.
I would say accept it just to call him out for the Getty image.
Oh, Mitch Marner had an open net. Oh, he did score that goal. Never mind.
Dude.
Oh, please don't tell me. I was going to say, hopefully you didn't pull a John Tavares and missed a wide open net.
Yeah, I thought he did. Nope.
Is it sad to say that's
Joe Thornton? One of 4 players to be over 41 years old and have a 7+ game goal streak.
Oh, good for him.
Point streak. Still
good for him though. But yeah, I mean, is it sad to say that's the one thing I know from John Tavares' time in Toronto is him missing that wide open net in that playoff game where he should have fucking buried it. I'm like, oh my God, dude, how did you fuck your team so hard in the ass like that? And you're the captain too. That's the bad part.
Hey man, rolling puck, dude.
Yeah.
Rolling puck. You can't put a puck on net accurately if it's rolling on you.
Yeah, there we go. So 5-3. Yeah, that's right. So we did win the season series. So that's always good to say. We at least won the Battle of Pennsylvania. I wish we had like a booby trophy, like a booby prize. You know how they have some series in like baseball and stuff like that where you have an actual trophy that's given to a team that's just awarded to them. I wish that we had something like that. Or for example, I think it's Northeastern and Boston College have the bean pot and they battle for it every year. And whoever gets the most wins on the other, they get the bean pot. I was like, let's just get like a giant golden keystone and just give that out every year.
Why not make it a Dundee from Scranton, Pennsylvania?
Or it's just a bust of Paul Coffey since he played for both teams. But it'll make it even funnier.
Mark Recchi for playing with both
the
teams.
Coffee pot.
True. Yeah, the coffee pot. There you go. Oh.
Douchebaggery is a serious disease. I will agree with you there, Priz. It is a serious disease. Too many people have that. We need to figure out a cure for that.
Yes. Seek help now.
Maybe get some kind of a vaccine since that seems to be the thing right now.
That's true. Rick Tocchet did play for both teams. Actually, no. You know what? John Leclerc. Oh, true. Technically, that does count because he did play for that season.
He played for him. He played on the roster. He's got.
I know. But he
give you that technically bullshit.
No,
he didn't. It was 1 year, and it wasn't really like he had a phenomenal year with them. He had a decent year. It
was the end of his career.
I know.
There's tons of the team. We could spend a whole show just going over players that played for both teams.
The Ken Reagan Award. You can give it that. You can do the. Let's see what other ones we got.
It's got to be Recchi. It's got to be Recchi.
It would have to be Recchi because I mean that's a guy who's synonymous with both teams. You know, I mean he had a great run with Pittsburgh, 2 stints with Pittsburgh, and he had 2 great stints with Philly. So I mean it would have to be Recchi if we had to be a picky year.
So how isn't? I'm just curious about something. Why isn't John Leclerc in the Hall of Fame yet?
Agreed.
Good point. He should be. I mean, I guess the only reason why is because he never won a cup. Well, no, he did. He won in '93 with the Canadians.
Yeah.
That's another thing. Yeah, so good point. Why the fuck is he not in there?
I think it's because a bulk of his production came in like a 5 to 6 year period, and it seems like throughout all sports, there's players that have to wait a while when they're labeled that sort of could have would have been, you know what I mean, type of scenario. Like think of like Don Mattingly, you know what I mean. Had for like 5 or 6 seasons, he was the best first baseman that was ever played the game.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a drop off. Usually it's injury related, but in Leclerc's case, all those 50-goal seasons alone has got to put you in the Hall, in my book.
Yeah,
you know what my vote is there with Johnny.
Absolutely.
And, I mean, we argue Eric Lindros all the time, but Eric Lindros, the same thing. He only had a small time frame where he was just unreal.
Right.
That was dirt, and that was when he was the captain of the Flyers.
Mm-hmm. Like,
Yeah.
he did a lot for the power forward position. Like, and I get he had a little bit of a longer span, but there was only like a 6-year span where he was just unstoppable. Then he left Philadelphia, and he was solid with the Rangers for a couple of years, and
then he
fell off with Dallas. He was definitely nothing with Dallas, but
in Toronto too.
As far as I wasn't sure if it was Toronto, but yeah, it was Toronto. He didn't have a good year in Toronto. But as far as John LeClaire in Pittsburgh, played 21 games with the Penguins. You know how many goals he had?
He had a decent amount of them against the Flyers. I know that for a fact. He used to score on the Flyers all the time when he was in Penguins jersey.
How many do you think he had?
How many games again?
21.
17.
Rob, you want to play the game?
Yeah, I'm gonna say it was off. It was like 7 or 8.
Rob, you're definitely a lot closer. 2.
2 goals.
2 goals.
I know.
5 assists for 7 points.
You want to know where he got those 2 goals on? He scored them on Philly. So it's like, of course. Thanks, LeClaire. Thank you for doing that. Recchi used to do it too. Recchi went out. He just got done with the Flyers, and he went right over to Pittsburgh. And I think it's because he was playing with Crosby, honestly. I think they put Crosby right near Recchi when he first started, which was the smart move because, why not put him with a purebred goal scorer and Mark Recchi? I mean, it'd be stupid not to.
They played. Wow, I didn't realize they played together.
They did, yeah, because Crosby was brand fucking new, and it was the 1 year after Lemieux retired. Yeah, because that first year Lemieux played with them, and then after that they went and got Recchi because Recchi was done with Philly, and so was LeClaire, and they put them both on the team. That was a weird team too, because that was a team that was compiled of Larry Robertson was not Larry Robinson. What was his name? Gary Roberts. That's who I was thinking of. Gary Roberts was on that team. Yeah, and he was back from the 80s. He was playing on the Flames. So,
Right.
Yeah, he that was like the end of his career, but still it's crazy to think about what kind of players they had on that team. That Penguins team was very interesting looking before they had gotten more of their guys up.
I like that question. Why isn't McGillney in the Hall of Fame?
He was a good player too, and he's not in the Hall of Fame either. He had a really good run. Yeah,
he was
a phenomenal
2,000
player.
points in his career. A career plus 81. So he played on the defensive side as well.
They said LeClaire would abuse Ryan Whitney. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my God!
Oh, it's true.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure Wit Dog has come out and said that on his podcast.
God. That is hilarious.
He had 155 goal year. He had a 76 goal season back in 92-93 when he was with Buffalo. 31 goals. Most of his damage was done with the Canucks. 2 years with the Devils, he had 46 goals combined. But then again, he also played 12 games with the Devils in 99-2000.
Wasn't he?
Put up
was
6 points.
And he was with the Sabres too, right?
He was the Sabres before, yeah. Went to Toronto. Put up decent numbers with Toronto. I don't get it. But Lindros is in.
How many out of his points? Like, what was the breakdown of goals to assists?
200. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Career totals, Rob?
Yeah.
473 to 559.
So it's pretty balanced. Yeah, why is it? Because the only thing that first popped in my head was that maybe he was a little bit more a goal scorer and less of an assist guy. And if he didn't put up like the goals like we see in the top 10 as Ovechkin's making his climb, then that could leave you on the outside looking in. But he can't, had more assists than goals even, totaling over 1,000. He should be in the Hall.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now,
won the cup once. He's a 2-time All-Star.
Okay, he was on the Cup team of the Devils that won.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure because sometimes that's one of the things they use to disqualify guys is not winning the Cup, and that's why it takes a while for you to get into the Hall. That sometimes does come into play with the Cup bias.
Again, not an Eric Lindros though. Brian's carrying on this conspiracy, and I'm starting to believe it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, because then you know what's going to happen. They'll put Leclerc in the Hall of Fame, and then they'll put Renberg in the Hall of Fame. And they'll be like, oh, boy, they're reaching when they're putting Renberg in there. I mean, like, holy shit.
Hey, listen, listen, you know me. I give Lindros a lot of shit, but I don't think he was a bad player by any stretch of the imagination. But McGillney should be in there before Lindros.
Make a whole Legion of Doom wing in the Hall.
They should put the Legion of Doom wing up there. Just have like a little. You're not putting the players in there, but like a little display for the Legion of Doom and the havoc that they've caused.
And put their Prince of Wales trophy in there, and then but they still managed to choke themselves out of a Stanley Cup final in '97. Oh, that sucks so hard. It's just like, God damn it, motherfuckers! Why did you not win that fucking cup? I mean, I get it. Detroit was a pretty damn good team. They were a really good defensive team, too. That's the thing that kills
because the Flyers were gassed in '97. They had to beat the three of the toughest teams in the NHL.
Yeah, but they did it so quickly. You're like, come on! You didn't have anything left.
372 goals. How do you put a guy with 372 career goals in the Hall of Fame? He was supposed to be a goal scorer.
Oh, my
God. It makes no sense.
Benny's saying, do we think that Rico belongs in the Hall of Fame?
That depends on who we're referring to as Rico. A couple of people are coming to mind for me. So let's just kind of be a little more specific.
Well, I'm sure he'll be in a moment. But
yeah, that's all I ask. Just be a little more specific, and then
I mean, the other guys. Well,
is that who he's asking for? Rico,
yeah.
I don't know. Desjardins?
Yeah, that's exactly who he means. Desjardins.
All right. Because, like I said, a couple people have that nickname Rico. So
I mean, either Daisy or freaking Uncle Rico from the Napoleon Dynamite. That's all I had for you.
Yeah,
Adam Henrique.
I do agree. Cujo should be in the Hall. Cujo was a really good goalie.
For sure.
Yeah, he was an underrated goaltender. Looking back on that, I'm thinking to myself, it would have been that should have been a goalie the Flyers should have went and got. You know what I mean? We should have went and got Cujo instead of I love Hexy, but it was the end of his career. I was like, oh, we should have gotten Cujo instead. Because he does well. He did really well when a lot of shots were coming his way. The only time he went bad was when he was in Detroit. That was when it was a defensive team. So the Flyers were bad defensively a lot of times. So it's like, oh, okay. He'll take care of it. We'll go win a cup.
I say yes on Eric Desjardins.
I think he should be, yeah. Desjardins, yeah.
Put up solid offensive numbers. The dude had 3 seasons in his career. 3 seasons in 18 years where he had a plus-minus in the minus, and it was barely in there. So he was a great defensive-minded player.
He was.
And he had some offensive talent. He had almost 200 goals in his career. Knew how to set up a play. But his last year in Montreal before he got traded to Philly, his last full year before he got traded to Philly, wound up with a -1. In 2000-2001, we had a -3. And in 2001-2002, had a -1.
You talk about winning a deal, though. We traded Desjardins. We got Desjardins and Leclerc in return, and all we had to give Montreal was Mark Recchi. And don't get me wrong, Recchi was a great offensive player, and Montreal absolutely needed him. But look at what we got back. Montreal, what did they do in the 90s? They were barely making the playoffs half the time, and yet the Flyers were considered cup contenders in the 90s. It's just crazy to think about how you win that deal, even though you traded away a great offensive talent in Mark Recchi. But you got back in return Leclerc, who turned out to be a phenomenal player. And two, you wound up getting Eric Desjardins, who wound up being one of the best defensemen the Flyers have had in history, really, when you think about it.
Do you guys remember the third player we got from Montreal?
I actually don't.
In that deal?
Mm-hmm.
So it was Desjardins, Leclerc, and one other player for Recchi, right?
Yeah, and I think we might have thrown something else, like either.
Benny's even saying those two weren't even the main piece.
Yeah, sort of. I mean, Desjardins, I think, so to speak. Leclerc was, like he did not. I mean, he played well. He was a solid contributor for Montreal, but he certainly took his game to the next level wearing the orange and black. But the third player was Gilbert Dion.
Yep, and Benny, he was right on the nose with you on that one. He said Dion. And he said, I think, and he is right.
You are correct, sir. Now, he never really worked out. And he was supposed to be a solid forward that they were looking for to add to the ranks. And, he had, he hung on a lot in the AHL level, but afterwards, but never really amounted so much on the NHL level. But solid trade. And then to get Recchi back later on was just a.
Yeah. That was great. And he was.
I'm looking at the trades now. The main piece they gave up? Do you guys remember who the main piece they gave up to get Recchi back from Montreal?
Actually, I do not remember the trade to get him back.
I thought didn't he go from Montreal to Pittsburgh, then back to the Flyers?
Montreal right back to the Flyers in 99.
He did go. Oh, he did.
Yeah, because his second stint with Pittsburgh ended when his second stint in Philly ended.
Right.
I'll give you a hint. There were 3 picks involved. One wound up being Scott Selig.
Yeah, that's the deal that I was thinking of the picks. It was straight up Recchi for those 3.
No, there's one other piece.
Oh, there was one other piece they sent.
There's one other piece going to Montreal.
In the original deal for Desjardins,
Leclerc. No, for him going back to Philly.
For him going back to Philly. I get you. I know this.
You should. You should too, Maddie. He was a big piece for the Flyers for a little while.
Oh, was it Zubers?
Bingo.
Donis Zubris. I couldn't get Damphus out of my head, and then it was so close. Zubris, son of a bitch.
Yeah, I remember now because Zubris. Yeah,
I met him and Simone Gagne when they were friends of a girl I went to high school with. Her family was bordering them when they came over to the States to play hockey.
Nice.
Yeah.
I remember because you know why? I forget. I honest to God forget. Zubers played for Montreal. I keep forgetting. I immediately go to he was a Devil and he was a Flyer, and that's all I really remember. He
went from Philly to Montreal, and then he went to New Jersey in the Scott Gomez deal.
Yes,
where they shredded Scott Gomez. That's the connection of Zubers to the Devils, and that's where Zubers had some good years with the Jersey Devils there.
He did. He was on the. Was he on the 03 team? Or no, he missed it. That's right, he missed that team. But anyway, Zeus was. Yeah, he was a fun player. It's a shame the Flyers didn't keep him, but at the same time, he was a depth player, so shit happens. It happens. Yeah, but anyway, do you guys know that we had a player called Tommy Dingle? And he didn't work. He was in the AHL his whole career. It's like, damn it! Like, why wasn't he a Flyer? It should have been great if we had him.
Little fun fact: he would never eat berries.
That Zeus would never eat berries?
No, Dingle, because then he'd be a dingleberry.
Oh, yeah. I got you. Sorry, lost it. My bad.
No, Maddie.
Listen, we're getting to the end of the show. Anyway, Benny was saying he was a cap
Get up
as
to
well.
6 o'clock. I got to be up at 6 o'clock again tomorrow morning, so I don't want to hear that.
But anyway, all right, guys. So that was fun. So we'll definitely be doing stuff like this when the off season rolls around. We'll be going into stuff with the Flyers and everything. Yeah, I know, Don. Anyway, so we'll be going into stuff like that. One thing I'm going to, since Robbie was not here for the preview of it, I will go grab that book and we will do one thing out of the 100 things that Flyers fans should know and do before they die. Hold on a quick second.
Awesome.
Just keep the summary nice and short this time, Maddie. We don't have that kind of time.
I'm feeling good. I'm thankful to be on the show tonight with you guys. Like I told you, I was feeling crummy a little bit coming in from the second shot, and I feel golden right now.
Great, man.
I'm gonna go tackle some work after we get off air here.
I'm gonna go tackle some Z's. I'll tell you that much.
Absolutely.
Right,
So what's your parting shots for your Ducks as the season wraps up for them while he's getting his thing in a nutshell?
I'll be honest with you, I'm not even really sure. I mean, they kind of played the expectation, maybe a little less. Tough division this year. Had some of the best teams in the league in their division. It's hard. But I saw some promises from this team where they've hung around in games, need to figure out how to finish and score some more goals. But Drysdale looks good. Zegras looks good. Some of the younger guys that they have up, Max Jones took a step forward this year, which I liked. Defense still needs to be shored up a little bit, but I mean, we'll see. Anaheim's got a bright future ahead of them. I think it's going to be another year before they're playoff bound, but they're in good shape. They're in good shape. I expect them to be a little bit closer to 500 next year.
As long as they take that next step forward, that's what you ask from your season as your team's rebuilding. That's for certain. Well, it'll be sad to say bye to our teams, but it'll be fun to cover the Stanley Cup tournament coming up with like zero biasness and just enjoy it for the glory that it is. And then to Maddie's point too, I'm looking forward to this off season. I cannot wait for the movie quote game that you suggested, Maddie. That's going to be so much fun.
Benny, hit the subscribe button. You'll never miss us. And it's great talking to you. Hope to see you next week, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for commenting, man.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you. And before we head out, guys, all right. So, Brian, you gave me number 9, so we already got that taken care of. Robbie, besides number 9, give me a number 1 through 100.
1 through 100, I have to give you 88.
88? All right, then.
That's the reason I gave him number 9.
So, number 88, and believe it or not, it doesn't have something. It doesn't have anything to do with Lindros, believe it or not. So, number 88, Mike Knuble, Mr. Lucky. Mike Knuble's big break was literally just that. Knuble had been a 4th-round pick of the Detroit Red Wings in 1991, and with his 6'3", 223-pound body, nice hands, and good hockey sense, he was a well-regarded prospect. But when he turned pro in 1995, he was stuck behind a Hall of Fame caliber depth chart of forwards. Detroit? No, not at all. Let's see. He wasn't that far down the depth chart, said Steve Yzerman, Detroit's captain, who had watched young Knuble grow. He was a good young player. We just had a very deep team. He was a good young player with good size and a good shot. For him at the time, he wasn't getting the opportunity to play. He was behind a few good players. The Wings traded him to the Rangers in 1998, who then shipped him to the Bruins in 2000. Knuble was just treading water in Boston until his break came, courtesy of a broken arm suffered by top-line forward Sergei Samsonov. There's a name. During the 2002-03 season, coach Robbie Fedoruk put Knuble in Samsonov's spot on the line with center Joe Thornton. That shows you how long ago this was. Thornton was a Bruin. Thornton and winger Glenn Murray, and something magical happened. Knuble scored 30 goals that season, doubled his previous career high, and had 21 the following season. You need some people to believe in you, and you need some people not to give up on you and see you a little bit different, Knuble said. The Flyers signed Knuble in the summer of 2004, and when he came back after the lockout, he was asked if he was worried about finding the same magic in Philadelphia that he did in Boston. He said, "You never know. You hope lightning strikes twice like that." Knuble started with rookie center Mike Richards, and winger John Sim. There's a name. John Sim. And that
these were my season ticket days. I remember this.
Yeah. And that line was the Flyers' most productive during the preseason. One game into the regular season, though, Coach Ken Hitchcock put Knuble on the top line with center Peter Forsberg and left wing Simon Gagne. Glory days, right? Maybe not, but still. And suddenly...
they were lethal. That was a nice line.
True. And suddenly, as good as Knuble had been in Boston, it became even better with the Flyers. That really changed my career, really took me to another level playing with Peter and Simone. Peter was a passer, and Simone was a great shooter of the puck. We all completed each other, or complimented each other is the way he said that. We all did something a little different and got along off the ice and enjoyed playing together. We all benefited, and we all did well. Knuble did exceptional. In their first season together, he had a career-best 34 goals. The next season, Knuble showed he could play with anyone, as he had 24 goals in 64 games, despite Forsberg being in and out of the lineup and finally traded in February of 2007. Yeah, ankle injuries are a bitch. It was during that disastrous season, however, that people saw the real Mike Knuble. First, November 29th, while the team was plummeting toward the bottom of the standings, Knuble signed a 2-year contract extension. Then on February 17th, Knuble and the Rangers' Brendan Shanahan had a terrifying collision that devastated both men. I don't know if you guys remember that or not.
I do.
But, oof. The puck was in the corner, Knuble recalled. He saw a 2-on-1 developing. I saw a pass heading toward the middle, and he was trying to build speed for a 2-on-1, and I'm going to try to head toward the puck, and we literally didn't see each other. The concussive blast left Shanahan unconscious, and Knuble with a broken right orbital bone and right cheekbone. The injury was expected to end Knuble's season, and with the Flyers suffering through a disaster of a campaign, no one would have blamed him for going home to recover. Okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Instead,
he came back, though.
Yeah, he did. Instead, he returned after a month. It's just the way I think. I feel like I need to come back faster. I don't want my teammates to wonder what I'm doing. It's not my choice to stay out. I feel like I want to be back faster. That summed up Knuble's time in Philadelphia. GM Paul Holmgren said he's a good guy to have around. Not only is he a good player, he's a good guy and a quality person.
Sounds about right. I feel like that definitely kind of was Mike Knuble's personality too.
I remember when he came back with that shiner. He wore that proud. Noobs!
Yeah, absolutely. Don said Don thought he said you'd go 69. And Prism also said, Bri, you said number 9 for Madonna. Don't lie.
Love me some Mike Madonna.
But all right, guys. So definitely a little walk down memory lane there. That's just a preview of stuff, and we'll be doing that more in the off season. Just wanted to do that because Rob was here and he wasn't here for the last one. So with that, though, guys, we will see you next week right here on A2DRadio.com. Gentlemen, it'll be the playoffs. They are finally here, and we will get to see just how crazy this COVID setup will be for the brackets. If you're yeah, right.
I gotta ask, are we doing a bracket challenge this year?
I mean, I tried to, but the NHL wouldn't let me. So I'll do a bracket challenge through everything here. I have no problem doing that.
Well, we'd have to do it through NHL.com. I think it's better to keep track of. We can get like Prez and Don and some of the other people who want to join us.
True. So yeah. So guys, if you want to get in on that, absolutely. A bracket.
I'll set it up. I'll try to set it up and get as much info out as I can.
Cool. What I want to get to the bottom of, did the NHL ban you, Maddie? Are you labeled a threat?
I think so. I think because you know, my Flyers fandom takes over too much, and I call people out in the worst way. But
too many hate letters to Gary Bettman?
Yes, that's what it is. That's what. How dare you still have the Coyotes here, you piece of shit? Didn't you learn with the Thrashers?
Ray Finkel style, you've gone on him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I'm looking for Ray Finkel.
Die, Gary, die. The laces were in.
Oh, and Prism saying he wants to get in on one of the drafts. Well, Priz, we are more than welcome to having you here, brother. We can get in on a draft in the off season, brother. All right.
There's one every year, so.
Yep.
So like an annual thing or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get in on that. But so yeah, Priz wants in on that, and Don said he's in on it. So yeah, hey, if you guys want to get in on that, we'll have it all set up for you guys. Bryce said he'll get it all going and everything, get it out to you guys. So there you go. All right. So playoffs will be here next week. It's exciting for this part of the year. It's time for some playoff hockey, and we're all going to be sitting back with a cold one, whether it's beer, soda, don't matter what it is you drink on an average basis. Enjoy the playoffs because it only comes once a year. And I'm just happy that COVID didn't take it away last year. So let's enjoy it. All right, guys. So we were brought to you by Body Check Wellness. Get 20% off with the A2D code. And when Riley Cote is on with us, you can get 40% off of a THC-free box. And that's $140 worth of savings. So if you want to try out the THC-free products before going into the hemp products, and just so you know, it's topicals, ointments, gummies, and such like that. It helps for clarity and focus. And you can get 40% off when Riley's on with us on the A2D code on that THC-free box, and the 20% off on the A2D code every day when you use the A2D code right there. So, along with that, specialized physical therapy for any aches and pains, and also if you are looking to buy or sell a home, or you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, you can contact Alan Foy at eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820, or visit them at alan.foy at exprealty.com. Before you know it, you'll be in that new home, or you'll have your old home sold, and you'll be moving on to bigger and better things. Right, guys?
Hopefully.
And if you like the show that you are listening to and you love A2D as well, if there are other shows that you listen to here as well, which you absolutely should, because we have tons of stuff for you, and it covers all the bases, you could support us. How, Bri?
Head on over to FLYERS.com, get your A2D merch there, all kinds of great stuff. What has he got going on there? Oh, it's a squirrel.
Is that Rocky?
Yeah, it's Rocky.
Nice.
What's he dry humping? Anyway, interrupted my damn spot.
Talks amongst yourselves. I'm just giving Rocky some screen time.
Listen, he's getting us more viewers. They always say cute animals get your views up.
Head over to PhillyDrinkers.com. All kinds of great stuff there. All kinds of great merch, T-shirts, hoodies, sweatshirts, hats, stickers, mugs, all kinds of great things. We got show-specific items as well. So head over to PhillyDrinkers.com. That's Philly Drinkers LLC. Get all your ATD merch there.
I want the Rocky shirt.
And as always, guys, hit the damn like and subscribe like Bri was saying earlier. If you like what you're seeing and you like what you're listening to, we're on the audio platforms. a speaker, iTunes, Spotify, any place that you can find audio, we're there. And obviously YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, we are there. We're there for you guys. And Twitch too. So
We everywhere. We everywhere.
Yep. And so, guys, that will do it. And Prism, is he the mascot? Yes. I think we can safely say Rocky is the new mascot of the Hockey Happy Hour. We haven't had one in a while. It's about time we got a new one. So, yeah, Rocky is. He's the new one.
Yeah, but I see Gritty right back there by the lamp.
Yeah, but Gritty's the mascot of the Flyers. So, I mean, listen, we can't tie Gritty's time down. He's got very important things to do as the mascot of the Flyers. So, we have Rocky. Rocky will do it.
Yeah, I guess since we lost, what was the gnome's name? I forget.
Schulte.
Schulte, that's it.
Yeah, but hey, you know what?
Man,
That's
that's going back a ways.
That is. It is. If you guys have ever gone into the archive, you might know Schulte. Or if you've been around for a while, you might know. But anyway.
Man,
all right, guys. So we thank you for joining us for another edition of the Hockey Happy Hour. We hope that you guys have a safe and happy weekend. And here in Jersey, we know that restrictions have been pulled down with the exception of masks. So still stands. Wear your mask when you go into stores and restaurants. That isn't gone yet. But you can gather, be merry, and enjoy the playoffs. So that's a huge step in the right direction, guys. And wherever you are, we hope that things are going good in that regard, too. Hopefully your restrictions are getting lowered as we speak. So we thank you guys for joining us. Have a safe weekend. We'll see you next week for the playoffs, baby. It's here. Can't wait to see it. Shout out to George Paros. Do better next time. We'll see you guys next week right here.
Be better.
We'll see you guys next time right here on A2DRadio.com. Peace and love, everyone.
Yo, Adrian, I did.